I'll move to item 4, which is a motion for us to consider, which has been submitted by Councillor Hughes. I am aware that there has been an amendment to the motion, which has been agreed with Councillor Hughes following consultation with the Chief Executive. The amendment to the motion is to recommend to Executive to restrict growth of payday loans companies on high streets using Article 4 direction to take back control of planning permission for conversions of general shops and offices into payday loan shops. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The rising cost of living and falling incomes is causing genuine problems to people with their finances. This has become much worse in the last 18 months due to the pandemic. More and more people are falling into debt due to trying to live on universal credit and zero-hour contracts, and then going to the likes of loan sharks and payday loan companies. Those who borrow from high-cost credit companies, on average, borrow £326 per month. The interest paid on this money has punishing rates of up to 5,800% APR. Many people are unable to make the repayments and are pushed into a spiral of increasing debt. This can lead to some people being evicted and becoming homeless, and also affects their mental health, even leading to some taking their own lives. In the last week alone, there have been 3 young men who have sadly taken their own lives in my local area. A police inspector that I know has said that this is happening more and more. It's heartbreaking. I'm not saying that all these deaths are down to payday loans and the debt that some people find themselves in, but once they are in this devastating spiral, it becomes so much harder for them to see an end to it. I have to admit that when I saw the figure of 5,800%, I thought it was a typo, but sadly this is not the case. Vulnerable people who are in need of help are being taken advantage of. As a council, I think it is beholden on us to try and find a better way to help people who, for one reason or another, find themselves in this situation. The worry that I have is when the furlough system ends, there will be more people out of work on 0 hours contracts or being made redundant, and more people will find themselves in this situation. We could start by looking closely at planning applications for high street shops and by signposting people to credit unions and debt agencies. We all know that the long-term solution to the problem of payday loans must be to increase wages, get rid of universal credit, and to control the cost of living so that people are not forced into their arms. In the short term, more needs to be done to give our residents more information about other ways to access credit unions and legitimate debt agencies. Credit unions offer a sustainable and affordable alternative to high-cost, short-term credit and should be supported by this council. As someone who used to sit on the board of a credit union, I've seen at first hand how much they can help vulnerable people who are struggling with their finances. South Manchester Credit Union and Voyager Alliance Credit Union are just 2 of a number in Manchester. Credit unions are open and beneficial to all. I am asking the council, therefore, to resolve to block access to payday loan websites through any council-controlled IT systems, including libraries and staff computers. Where access has been blocked, to display information about PayPlan and other free local debt counselling services and contacts for local credit unions such as South Manchester. To promote local credit unions by working with council and external organisations to, for example, give cheaper bus tickets to credit union members. And finally, to recommend to the executive to restrict the growth of payday loan companies on high streets using an Article 4 direction to take back control of planning permission for conversions of general shops and offices into payday loan shops. By making these resolutions, we will be able to help our residents and even possibly save lives. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Councillor Ben Clay to second the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Many people are hard up in our city, so I thank Councillor John Hughes for proposing this important motion. Through the pandemic, some of us have suffered a loss of income, and for others the tough times will be yet to come as furlough ends and a callous Tory government snatches back the vital £20 a week uplift of universal credit. Those who cannot pay the bills may turn to exploitative high-cost credit, and some, in desperation, to illegal moneylenders who enforce debts not with county court judgments, but with intimidation and violence. The key question is, where can people safely go to borrow £200 to £300 at short notice? High street banks don't offer this unprofitable and risky service, so it's imperative we support our community credit unions who do. By encouraging savings, members take control of their financial future. These funds are loaned to people with poor credit ratings, using mobile apps and digital access for convenient borrowing. They match the seductive ease with which exploitative credit can be obtained today. So mutually owned and democratically controlled credit unions allow the people to help the people, socialist solidarity using community savings to support loans to those in need. We're lucky enough in Burnage to have the South Manchester Credit Union. They support people across our city, along with the Manchester Credit Union and with 6 others across Greater Manchester. They work with councils and community partners to offer ethical, mutual lending and saving to our citizens. Working with our local housing association, Southway, who set aside £32,000 7 years ago, South Manchester Credit Union have now lent and recovered £391,000 to tenants claiming universal credit to help them budget. With a default rate of less than 5%, this has made a real positive difference to many people's lives. Using the secure Nevo app, members quickly access loans in their accounts, and during the pandemic this became vital, with 95% of loans now made online. Personal lending below £500 has changed radically over the last few years. Wonga, Bright House, Amigo Loan and now Provident, the oldest doorstep lending business in the UK, all well-known exploitative lenders, have been driven from the market by a combination of regulatory change, complaints and compensation claims. Community credit unions want to seize the opportunity to change for good how people access loans, encourage them to build financial resilience through savings. Manchester City Council can facilitate the growing use of ethical and responsible credit unions and should do more to combat the growth of other forms of exploitative credit which are on the rise. The buy now, pay later and salary finance have expanded rapidly and are being colonised by exploitative high-cost lenders. We can help by encouraging employers to engage with credit unions and enable access to their services for employees, perhaps through the Good Employment Charter, and facilitating ethical procurement processes for appointing companies to work with credit union providers for salary schemes and find ways to help them lend to SMEs and introduce business startup loans too to help with rebuilding our local economy. They need our help promoting their services and encouraging membership across the city, which will be especially welcome as we approach International Credit Union Day on the 17th of October. In addition to the vital lending they provide, credit unions give back to the community in social value. A recent report from Ireland found for every euro invested, 10 euros of social value were created. They encourage saving and self-sufficiency, protect people from exploitation, provide access to financial and debt advice, and promote financial inclusion for the most disadvantaged and marginalised people. I second the motion, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clay. Any other members? Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As a member of South Manchester Credit Union, I did ask the City Solicitor for advice on whether I had a pecuniary interest and therefore should not take part in the debate or vote. but the advice from the city solicitor was that it was probably a personal interest and that I was okay to speak and vote on the item. Therefore, Lord Mayor, I'm very happy to support this motion today to help tackle the scourge of payday loan companies. And I want to pay tribute to Councillor Clay and Councillor Hughes for their speeches in support of this motion. I don't really want to repeat what's been said before about payday loan companies, but I do want to make the point that high street banks must bear some responsibility for people going to payday loan companies. In recent years, we've seen banks disappearing from the high streets. Many years ago, when I moved to Chorlton, everyone knew the Barlamore Road, Wilbraham Road junction as the 4 banks. Later this year, only one of those 4 banks will remain. The chance to build up the relationship with your bank and your bank manager has disappeared, and with it, the trust that was created between the bank and the customers. Is it any wonder that banks do not want to lend money or extend overdrafts to some of their customers when all they know about their customers is on a spreadsheet? But it's not even necessarily about closing branches. It's also about the way banks have started to operate and their refurbishment and the disappearance of counter services and the lost opportunity to deal with people face to face and build up that important trust between the bank and the customer. HSBC are due to close their Chorlton branch in September, and they've been conning their customers, yes, conning them, that they'll be able to use the counter service in Didsbury once the Chorlton branch closes. But HSBC have just announced to councillors in Didsbury that their branch refurbishment will take place in October, and that when it reopens, there'll be no counter service and that people will be expected to go to the city centre as the closest counter service service. So is it any wonder that payday loan companies are happy to move in on the high street with their too good to be true friendly faces and easy loans and their not so nice extortionate interest rates? I'm sure that council will support this motion and will do everything we can to keep payday loan companies off the high street. But I do hope that we can also put some pressure on the traditional banks to reverse this terrible trend of disappearing from the high street.
Thank you, Councillor Leach. Councillor Hewitson.
That was a long walk. Thank you, Lord Mayor. The South Manchester Credit Union, myself and my husband 10 years ago used to run a credit union in our local community centre. And the reason why we opened one was because when the pensioners were going to get their pension from the post office, there used to be the loan sharks waiting for them outside the post office and take the pension off them. The good thing about this credit union, the South Manchester Credit Union, is the fact that you can actually get yourself a loan. You can also save for Christmas, and there's also, they do hampers and stuff like that. I ran it for 10 years, and the people we helped on our estate and all over Ardwick was absolutely amazing. People running short on money because they couldn't afford to get a bank loan or anything like that. The Christmas time, they couldn't get money for the children's Christmas presents. They couldn't afford to pay for holidays, and this came in handy. So when they save for, I think it's 14 weeks, they could apply for a loan and also save at the same time. It's a fantastic thing that's going on, and I hope this council will support this South Manchester Credit Union. And thank you, John and Ben, for bringing this to council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No other indications, so Councillor John Hughes to exercise the right to reply.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Only just to say thank you to Ben for seconding it, and for everyone that I spoke to and the people that have spoke today for supporting it. I hope everybody else supports this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now put the motion to a vote. Council will vote on this morning by acclamation. All of those in favour say aye. All those against the motion say no. Are there any abstentions? Thank you. I declare the motion to be carried.